Tonight, of course, the NBA draft. Rich Eisen and his crew will be talking about that today on WCTC beginning at 12 noon. And perfect timing for my guest who's with me on the Jersey Central Newsmaker hotline. He is an author and also an NBA agent. His brand new book called 7-Foot Man Eating Chicken, which I love the title, an NBA Odyssey, provides a rather interesting look at the association, as they call it. Keith Glass is with me this morning here on WCTC. Keith, good morning. It's Burt Barron. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Bert. I'm soaked. What's with this weather?
This time tomorrow, I think we're going to make a drastic turn for the better. So let's
All right.
Let's
I'm
see.
looking for that yellow thing up in the sky.
Yeah, don't stare at it. If you see it, don't stare at it, Keith.
All right.
That's the important thing. But
thanks, Bert.
there's a lot of talk, of course, about the draft that's happening tonight, and for these players that are going to be selected tonight. What's going through their heads this morning, Keith? This could be the biggest night of their lives.
Well, unfortunately, the way it's developed, I think money is in their minds right now, and branding and, what they can gain out of it. There's obviously some excitement also about, being drafted. It's a very exciting time for them, for their families, for their agents, for whatever. But this has become, so much of a show that, it's a little, to me, it's a little over the top.
Yeah, it's back in the day. I can remember seeing old videotapes of the NFL draft where it was guys sitting in a hotel with a landline phone on a desk, and they would just announce a pick. And now it's this big production thing, and there's lights, and there's fireworks, and there's crowds and applause, and you're right. It's become a big spectacle. You're right.
Yeah, I think everything now in society, the words are branding, marketing. That has taken over. From performance, from some of the games itself. And that's really where the title came from, is that things are not always as they seem. You buy a ticket to go see a 7-foot chicken that's a man-eater, and when you get in,
right.
It's a 7-foot man eating the chicken.
Right. That's why I like the title there so much. But the difference between a draft tonight in the first round and the second round, it's millions of dollars in endorsements and salary, and it affects so many different things, right?
Well, let's do it this way. I'll make this easy for people listening.
Okay.
If you're drafted 30th, that's the last pick in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
A kid is looking at, let's round it off, let's say it's $2.5 million of guaranteed money over a 2-year period. If you're drafted 31, which is one pick later, you're guaranteed nothing.
Wow. So
the only way for listeners to get that sensation, get in your car and drive off a cliff.
Right.
So they're clearly, and it makes no sense. I mean, obviously some players drafted 31st are well better than guys drafted 11th. So this is not an exact science in any of the major sports. Tom Brady was the 6th quarterback taken in his draft. He was passed over 198 times, and they paid those guys to evaluate. And, most of them still have their jobs.
Right, somehow. Yeah, that Brady guy did okay for himself, right? Even though he was
all right.
He was on the board for a while, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was so upset. He was crying during the draft.
Yeah.
And, it's not an exact science. And, that's why the branding and the marketing, to me, I write about that significantly in the book. It's taken over everything. They're constantly selling to the public, not just hot dogs and foam fingers. They're selling their players to the public even before they have them, and that, I think that's gotten to a lot of people.
Isn't this what this was the NBA that David Stern wanted to create, where you market players rather than teams, and this is kind of the result that we see, right? Is this kind of what the groundwork that David Stern had laid for the NBA?
Yes, I think it is. And I think, look, the guy, you cannot criticize what the NBA has become in terms of success if you want to, use the barometer of money to equate to success. Whether or not that is the product, that the product on the floor is better, That's why you sometimes get a 7-foot man-eating chicken effect.
Right.
That's how I think. I mean, I understand that the players are more popular than ever, and you're right, that was David Stern, I think, to a large degree. And it's hard to criticize him. He's a brilliant guy, but I just worry about the product itself, the game itself.
Sure.
Out on the floor.
Yeah, he took over an NBA that the finals, and I can remember as a kid watching them on tape delay 11:30 at night, and look what it's become now. Try doing that nowadays, right?
No, I don't think that's going to happen today.
And you're right, Keith. It's the product that I'm concerned with. I love the NBA. I'm a big fan. I have a difficult time getting excited about Denver and Sacramento on a January night, and I should be excited about Denver and Sacramento if it's two great teams with great players with a lot to play for. I should be enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, you're right. And the other thing, too, Bert, is it's saturation. I'm probably a little older than you, and we got one game a week on Sunday. And I sat there as a kid, praying that Oscar Robertson I'd be able to just look at him for a little while and try to appreciate what he was about, or Bill Russell or Wilt or whatever. Now, you've got every game televised every night. So it's not like, destination TV for people.
Yeah.
Every game during 180 days of a season is not a playoff game. It's not. The playoffs are fantastic, especially as you get deeper into the rounds. But you go to, as you're saying, you go to a Memphis Sacramento game and you're paying $800 for your family. You got to walk out of there scratching your head a little bit.
Yeah, I get to the point that even, Atlanta, Orlando, or Law and Order replay at night, sometimes Law and Order just might win out. But
yeah, I got you. Well, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me.
Understood.
But
I
do it. But that's what I've written about. And I don't want to, I'm very critical of the branding and the marketing. And here I am on the phone, and I don't want it to sound like branding and marketing on my book. This is going to sound very flippant, and I don't mean it that way, but I'm not going to get rich on this book.
Yeah.
And so the only reason I want people to get the book is to read it, not to make me wealthy, because you don't get wealthy writing a book.
No.
I wrote this for myself, and somebody wanted to publish it, so I said, okay, let's go.
All right, well, it's definitely a terrific read, again, called 7-Foot Man-Eating Chicken, an NBA Odyssey by Keith Glass, who was my guest this morning here on WCTC, and I'll definitely be checking this out. You mentioned a name that resonates well with Rutgers fans here in this part of Jersey, Quincy Douby. He's talked about in the book, right?
Yeah, there's an appendix on Quincy. We had represented Quincy, and I think what that story portrays is the business of basketball and how it can be pretty cutthroat and pretty disloyal. And, the book, Bert, it's not about basketball per se. It's more about interpersonal relationships, the business of it. And I found most of the stuff that I've written about in both books. I had a book published years ago. They're poignant stories. Otherwise, why would I write about them?
Yeah.
I don't think everybody needs to, have basketball stories told. They see it every day on TV, about the stars. So Quincy was a moment in time for us, and it's interesting how it ended up. But, that's what they were all about, is basically a story of relationships and how they grow or don't grow and that type of thing. So the Rutgers has been very good to us. I think Rutgers is on the right path with their coaching situation, and
yeah, I agree.
Hopefully they can make more inroads. I think they're trying to do it the right way.
Yeah, let's hope so. But Keith, the new book through Amazon or through the big book retailers, is that where we find it? Yeah,
Amazon primarily. I think Barnes and Noble is out already, which is great.
Wow.
So,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I have something now I could look at in the off season as I bide my time and wait for the return of the regular season. But thank you so much for the time today, Keith, and really good luck with this. And I can't wait to dive in and see relationships between agents and players and coaches and GMs and owners. And this is going to be a fantastic read. So I'm looking forward to it. But thanks for the time today. All right.
Thank you, Bert. I appreciate it.